This video has been brought to you by Amped Airsoft and Steel City Airsoft.
Hello YouTube and welcome to my computer room. I decided to film in here instead of filming in my living room because it's a lot easier to get decent lighting instead of trying to fit it with a bunch of my lamps that I have to make it seem like I'm not in the dark. But I discussed in my first video that I was going to try to do reviews and breakdowns of the guns that we have. Finally got around to actually trying to do that. In my toys episode, you see me go over one of my guns, which is the KWA's KMP9R. This is the model that had the tack rail on the front instead of the foregrip that was part of the polymer body. I'll remove the accessories that I've put on here for my use for the review, but nonetheless, let's get to it. Okay, here we have the base model of the KWA KMP9R. Obviously more came with it in the box. This was, as I said, a purchase from a friend. In the box you would receive your typical jamming rod, your free little bag of BBs, your little bit of silicone, and your one gas mag. Obviously I don't have the box, so we'll just start from there. It's a very lightweight body made of a high-grade polymer. You have a metal outer barrel, metal internals. Trigger has a metal inner safety, but the trigger itself is the polymer. There are some other metal fixtures with your safety or your mag release and some other internal pieces, as well as bolts. Has a collapsible and side folding stock that is also made of polymer. It is very sturdy, not wobbly at all. It holds the gun very well. It can be disassembled and removed for whatever reasons you may want to do that. I can't say why or what, but that's your preference. FPS out of the box on this before I put the low power bolt was roughly 390-ish. Obviously that kind of changes on slight factors depending on the model you got. Sometimes it could be the same two models, two different FPSs. With the low power bolt, this runs roughly about 310 in decent weather. In warmer weather it'd probably be a little bit higher, but it keeps it under the limit, so that way you're good for your CQB. The lightweight features of the gun keep it to where you're no fatigue. You could literally run with this thing for an untold amount of time. It weighs more than, you know, a typical pistol, obviously, but much lighter than most other primary weapons, and this could definitely fulfill a primary weapon. No, you're not going to have the same range as AEG rifles or some other setups, but for CQB purposes and close quarters, maybe some medium range, it is an ideal setup. It is a perfect lightweight unit. You have your tack rails up top. They are the same polymer. They're part of the body, as well as fixed iron sights. They're not adjustable. The front iron sight is a metal nubble. Don't really think of any other way to describe it. The back is polymer, which is also part of the body. The charging handle is polymer, and as you can see, the open bolt has a nice decent click to it as she closes. But as for means of carrying it, very lightweight, very easy use, decent FPS. The rate of fire, I could not tell you. I haven't chronoed the speed on it, but with this mag, which I would assume be like a 52 or so round mag, I may be wrong, correct me if I am in the comments, I can pretty much dump it in a very rapid fashion. Within a couple of seconds I can empty the clip. Obviously you're going to want to keep your lubrication, keep everything maintenanced well, because it is a gas blowback, so yes, it's going to require a little bit more maintenance than an AEG or obviously a Springer. But keep up on your maintenance. It's a very reliable, very durable unit. It's taken a couple bangs, unfortunately, unintentionally, but it comes back without an issue. And yes, it comes with a nice blaze orange tip. I've been told Magic Eraser can remove that rather easily, but I didn't tell you that. Nonetheless, it's a nice unit with a decent rate of fire, lightweight, easy to handle, comes with one high cap mag or high gas mag. You can easily purchase others through websites or your local airsoft shops. I highly suggest, and if you're going to use this as a primary, buy more mags. At least, you know, for short matches, 2 mags will be okay, give or take, but having more than that would definitely help. Alright, well, welcome to the backyard. Here I have my nice little gun. Got my toys back on. Got a loaded mag. Go over, I'm going to do some semi-auto, and then I'm going to set her up on full auto. Semi-auto first. Now for the fun part, a little bit of full auto. Yeah, that was roughly half a mag, but not too bad. And in the distance, it may be slightly hard to see, but I've got a nice little target set up. It's at roughly 50 foot from where we are now. Got a little bullseye. I'm going to take a mag at it, some full auto and some semi-auto. We're going to show the accuracy pattern about 50 feet. It looks like I need to drastically change my hop up. Hop up is all over the place. Yep. As you can see, that's with the unadjusted hop up, because I just took it apart and cleaned it all and turned my hop up all the way down. I did not readjust it, but just for giggles, we'll go see how that 52 round mag did at 50 foot with a low power bolt and the hop up completely off. Off we go. As we can see here, I got pretty much BBs everywhere, all over the target. Quite a few hit the fence, but I do think that that's a great deal to do with the firing, no having any hop up. I'm going to go adjust my hop up and we're going to give it one more shot. Alright, we're ready for round 2. I've adjusted my hop up a little bit. She ain't perfect, but a lot better than what she was. And drop my mag in. Running semi-auto first. Switch to full auto. Back to semi. And that's the whole mag. So I'm going to set my gun down now, and we're going to go see what difference that made running that hop-up adjustment a little bit. Now, this is a fresh target. It's not the same one from before. I redid another target. And at 50 foot, we got a decent pattern. No bullseyes, unfortunately, and quite a bit of spread. But we got to keep in mind that this is a short range to mid range, give or take, weapon. So at 50 foot, I'd say that's pretty good with the lower temperature that we're dealing with outside. Alright, now for the fun part, the disassembly of the KWA's KMP9R. A handful of people have complained that it's rather difficult to disassemble. I beg to differ. It's just a matter of knowing what you're doing with it. First thing you're going to look for in the disassembly is up front. There's a small hole. When you look inside, you'll see a flathead screw. So you're going to need a flathead that's thin enough to fit in to remove it. I find it easier to extend the stock so that way it's not in your way. Going to stick your screwdriver in here and just take it out. Alright. There we go. And there's your little screw. Set that to the side. On the back side, you have a nice little piece here. Some people can press this, just to press it all the way and then slide it off, but I find it easier to lift from the front. This is the rod that the spring is on, so when you lift this up, you have to be careful that if you lift this too far, it will shoot off and you don't want to lose your rod or your spring or lose an eyeball. So when you lift up, the front here, because you took the screw out, is loose. Going to lift it up, push just a little bit on there, enough to pop it free. I kept it nice and seated. There's your upper receiver. Grab it. You're going to push it forward and lift up. Just be careful to hold on to the spring because it is under tension. You don't want to lose it. There's your spring, and there's your rod. Set those to the side. Now to the fun part. On the front side here, you have a nice spring that's down in here. Be careful not to lose it or catch it in the face, but you're just gonna, you can do a flathead, your finger, whatever you need to, pull it up and lift it right out of there. So now you have that lovely little piece. Set that to the side as well. On top, you're gonna have a little round cylinder. You're going to lift that, push this piece forward and lift that cylinder up. On the cylinder, when you look at the top, it's very hard to see on the camera, but there is a flat side. You have to remember when reassembling it, that flat side needs to be aiming forward, so that way it seats in there properly. They're going to slide this piece straight forward. This plate has rounded edges on one side. One side it's flat and smooth, the other side it's slightly rounded. You have to remember to make sure that that goes up. The rounded side goes up. Just going to take your bolt. You have tabs on the side. If you pull them down, it makes it a little bit easier. Slide it all the way forward. When you slide forward, lift up just a little bit, and now the whole unit will slide up. With the low power bolt, I found that the magazine release kind of locks onto this piece. It's not as easy to leave settled in. It has a tendency to almost always come up with it. So you can just set that back down in. It does have a spring because of the release. Now you have your upper assembly. Slides right off. This is your low power bolt. If you were to buy or purchase a low power bolt, this is the procedure you would go through to replace your high power bolt with the low power bolt. Set that to the side. You have your outer barrel, which is a polymer, not metal. This is your metal part, which is more or less your muzzle. So that was my mistake from earlier. Your metal inner barrel is in the inside. As far as I can tell, it doesn't really come out of the unit. Maybe you know more about it, you might be able to get it out yourself. I'm not going to tinker with it because it looks like it is part of the barrel. You have your hop up in the back, which is also part of it. That's your outer inner barrel unit. You now have your entire lower receiver unit, which you can clean and properly lubricate. Make sure that springs that you have for your trigger, pull your trigger back in place, are still there. Make sure all your other screws, everything is in place properly. Make sure it's lubricated as needed. Since this is a gas blowback, you will be doing this often. The more you use the gun, the more you need to clean it and make sure that it stays maintained. Otherwise you will have reliability issues and, well, it's just not going to operate the way you want it to. It's not going to play out the way you want. So now I'm going to reassemble it. I'm going to leave out all the lovely details. I'm just going to put her back together. two details that I will put into place. When putting your low power bolt or your high power bolt, regardless of which one in, you're going to push the unit in. I find it easier to hold it like this. You have a little tab down here that moves forward, that's a release. If you push it forward, it'll make it easier for you to settle the bolt back in place. Make sure she's in place properly. On the top here, which is your outer barrel, you're going to want to pull it back until you see the little hole that's in the top lines up. You need that to line up properly so that way your rod will go back down in place the way it's supposed to. Alright, so now I'm going to put this back together since you know all the tips and tricks for that. Make sure that when this goes all the way in, it goes flush. You don't want it sticking up any, you want to make sure she's flush to where you can pull this back forward. Your spring will just pop right back down in there. There we go. Slide the rod back together. Be careful putting it in there because it can be kind of finicky. As I stated, you don't want to catch this spring in the eye or injure yourself. Pop it back in place. Put the back end on first, that way that nub fits into the unit. Pop her back down. Set your screw back down in your nozzle here and put her back in. It does go quite a ways in there, so just make sure she goes till you feel her snug. Don't over tighten, but make sure she's in there tight. Check your bolt catch, make sure it's working properly. And there you go. That's the disassembly and the assembly of the KWA KMP9R.